You made me do it. How many people watching this video right now have heard that phrase before? Have heard that phrase from their toxic relationship, from their abusive partner, from the person that's sitting across from them and just destroying you? How many times have you heard that? You made me do it. And you see, in those relationships, it gets to a place where it's been manipulated so much, it's been controlled so much, there's been so much that has gone on that as it starts to bubble to the surface and we start seeing all the crap that actually is underneath the surface, we start to realize there's a lot more there that we didn't know. And as the narcissist or that toxic person starts owning up and saying stuff about it, okay, one, they're never going to really own up about it. But if they start acknowledging or they're faced with the facts and they can't dispute it anymore, then they're going to turn it on you. They're going to turn it on you and they're going to make it your fault. You see, they'll sit there and they'll tell you, hey, the reason you're so upset right now is not the fact that I was cheating, but the fact that you went through my phone. Like, if you had just respected my personal space and not gone through my phone, you wouldn't be upset right now that I was texting other women. Like, you wouldn't be upset right now if you hadn't invaded my privacy and seen, that I was sending nudes to other people. You wouldn't be upset right now if you hadn't, gone through my car and realized that I had a change of clothes from another woman in my car. You wouldn't be upset. Like, literally, the list will go on and on. Okay, because they have to be able to blame their actions back on you. If they can blame their actions back on you, then that takes them off the hook in their mind and they're not accountable for it anymore. And so they turn it around, they focus it back on you, and they say, you made me do it. They'll hurt you and abuse you mentally and emotionally, and as a result, you don't want to be with them intimately or sexually. Then they go out and cheat, and then they come back and say, you're the one that made me do it because I wasn't getting it from you. Well, they probably weren't getting it because they weren't creating a safe environment or a safe place to connect on an emotional level. That's a lot of times what narcissists do, but they'll turn it around and they will blame you for their actions. And in talking with people, so when I meet with people one-on-one, when we start going through either the narcissistic abusive relationship side, like the recovery side, or we start talking through just like life coaching, like as they're trying to work on growing themselves and continuing to move forward with that process of growth, I realize like a lot of times like they'll hear that phrase from the narcissist, like you made me do it. And I'd say it's about 50%. Half the people acknowledge that it's not them. The other half of the people like start to think over a period of time, maybe it was me. Maybe I could have loved him differently. Maybe if I'd been there more for her, like she wouldn't have walked out. Like maybe if I would have responded better, she wouldn't have screamed at me so much. Maybe if I had interacted more positively when they were feeling down, then he wouldn't have gone into his rages as often. And you start to see people that think over a period of time and they start to acknowledge and like put together the pieces in their mind of like, it actually was my fault. I've been surprised. There's been several people that I've talked to that have come into the conversation and they'll be like, I think I'm the narcissist. And not all, but several that come into the conversation, they start talking to me about like, I think I'm the narcissist, but my partner has narcissistic traits. We start talking about like how they interact with each other. And I had one person that I talked to that she was convinced, fairly convinced that she was like narcissistic or had the narcissistic traits. And I was like, I don't see it. Like in our interactions, you've had more empathy, you've had more engagement. You're telling me like the reasons why you want to connect with this other person. You're telling me X, Y, and Z. And you're also saying what the other person's doing, and you're not bad-mouthing them. You're not bashing them. You're not throwing them under the bus from like how I'm perceiving, how I'm hearing everything. And I'm like, you don't have the traits. Like you're not exemplifying narcissistic tendencies. You're exemplifying what they're putting on you. Because over a period of time, the narcissist comes out and says, like, you made me do it. And they try to put the blame back on the other person. Put the blame of their actions. Put the blame of their responsibilities back on the other person. You see, with a narcissist, so like in my mind, as I process stuff, so as a narcissist, what I look at is I take a look at my actions. Okay? I don't want to own up to my actions. If I own up to my actions, then I have to admit two things. I have to admit that I'm not perfect, and I have to admit that I'm wrong. And those two things are anti what I'm about, because I'm about like building up my own godlike complex, my kingdom, my reality, my fake facade that makes me feel safe, welcome, and the best person on the planet, and everybody's supposed to serve me. So when I start feeling that way of I don't want to admit that I'm wrong, and I might have to acknowledge that I'm not perfect, I have to figure out how can I get away from that as fast as possible. The easiest way to do it is you lie. The easiest way to do it is gaslight. The easiest way to do it is manipulate your way out of it. Can't do those things? Blame. Now I got to blame you. Because if I can blame you for my actions, it means that I get off the hook. If I can say, hey, it wasn't my fault that I made this decision. It wasn't my fault that I cheated on you. It wasn't my fault that I got into another relationship. It wasn't my fault that I lied. It wasn't my fault that I did all this kind of stuff. If I can take all that fault and all that blame and I can put it back on you, I'm free. I don't have to worry about it. I can go back to living my life in a facade that I'm the best person ever, that I don't make any mistakes, and that I'm God of my kingdom. And if I do that, then I'm at the place where I don't have to take that accountability. I don't have to experience the blame. I don't have to experience the shame. I don't have to experience anything that goes along with that because it's not my fault. It's back on you. And to tie it up, to put a bow on the package, I finish it off with saying, you made me do it. You made me do it. And talking with different people, like one thing I try to have them understand is how cause and effects work, how control works, and how just telling somebody one thing or another doesn't make them do anything. So as you're sitting here, as you're watching this video, let me tell you this right now. Be happy. Right now. Be happy. Like, you don't feel happy? Like, okay, be sad. Right now. Be sad. Wait, you can't be sad? You know, it takes more than that, than me just telling you what to do, because I can't make you do something. I can't force you to do something and actually it be from you, inside of you. And a lot of times that's how we look at these relationships, and we take the blame, and the empath will take the blame from the narcissist because the narcissist says, you made me do it. What was the empath doing? Like standing there with a gun to the other person's head saying, hey, if you don't cheat on me, it's going to end bad. No. You see, each person out there is responsible for their own actions. The thing is, the narcissist will never admit and will not be responsible for the actions that they do. So as a result, they will put it back on someone else so they can stay perfect, so they cannot be wrong, and so they can make sure they live in their facade of their perfect world, that they're the best person ever. So they'll keep coming back to you, and they'll keep saying that you're the one that made me do it. You're the one that made me cheat. You're the one that made me lie. All these kind of things, and they'll build up this giant facade till you start to actually think, maybe it was me. Probably not. If you have someone that's constantly saying that you made me do it, that's not true. You don't control someone else's reactions. You don't control someone else's response. Everybody has triggers and issues that we deal with, yes. But at the end of the day, it is still their choice. It's still their choice to lie. Still their choice to manipulate. Now, do narcissists know how to get out of it? I would say the majority of the time they don't. They're stuck in a cycle. They don't know how to get out. And there's no hope for them to get out because they're not going to admit who they actually are. I had someone the other day ask me why do you always talk bad about the narcissist? Why do you give the impression that there's no hope? And I was like, because majority of the time there's not. I'm not on here to bring hope. I'm not on here to say hey, there's hope if you love your narcissist. No, heck no. If the narcissist doesn't show change and growth, leave. It's not going to get any better. And it's not going to get any better if you have someone in your life that is constantly blaming you for their actions. Don't take the blame for what someone else is responsible for. Don't take the blame for something that they did to you. They abused you, and then they turned it around and they blamed you for their abuse of you. No, it doesn't work that way. They're in charge. They're in charge of their actions. They're in charge of their choices, each and every one. Is there an aspect that I think sometimes they don't know? Yeah, because there's aspects that I didn't know. There's aspects that I was just doing whatever I could possibly do to get away from the situation as fast as possible, regardless of who I ran over, of who I hurt, of who I manipulated, of who I destroyed. I didn't care. I was just I have to get away from this. I have to get past this. I have to get it in the past so I don't have to deal with it, so I don't have to think about it, so I don't have to acknowledge it. But at the end of the day, it was still my choice. And it had to be my choice to acknowledge it, and it had to be my choice to be honest about it. Took a whole lot of time. still takes time every single day. Thankfully, I was able to be a part of the Wake Up Warrior Challenge. That was something that really dug deeper than what I'd ever gone before, understanding that I had lies. I had lies in my life that were manipulating me, manipulating my mind, and that I was using to manipulate everybody else. And over a period of time, I started realizing, like, I made myself do it. Like, I'm the one that chose to gaslight. I'm the one who chose to lie. I'm the one who chose to cheat. Every single aspect of it was a choice. And it's not my victim mindset. It's not the fact that I got abused. It's not the fact that I was manipulated, or she wasn't good enough, or whatever it might be. I'll twist it anytime in my mind to be the victim so that I'm justified to do whatever I want. Don't let them do that to you. If you're in a narcissistic relationship and you hear that phrase, you made me do it, understand you didn't. Because you didn't force that person to be an asshole to you. You didn't force that person to lie. You didn't force that person to cheat on you. You didn't force them. That was their choice. I'd love to talk to you guys more. Reach out, rawmotivation.com. I'd love to talk to you one-on-one. Schedule a time there. Whether you're a narcissist, or you think you're a narcissist, whether you're in a narcissistic abusive relationship, we'd love to have you reach out. Subscribe on here. Got TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram. Thank you so much for watching.